Welcome to the Strategic Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Mackel with Strategic Information Group. Today, I'm lucky enough to be doing a segment on partner products and partners in the QAD space. Joining me today, I have Andy Weinstein, the CEO of ISS Group. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing well, Andrew. Thank you for asking.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time today. As we all have been part of the QAD community, whether it be user groups or just advancement of customers, we understand that there's lots of gaps and opportunities in the industry to help our customers better succeed. And today is a partner product and partner showcase. And I thought it'd be best to bring you on, as you and I have worked on a number of customers in supporting their needs, outside of just what's in the base ERP or in the space that they need. And today, Andy, I hope that you could give a little background about yourself and your company so we can bring some of our other listeners into what you provide in this area. So if you could, just give us a little background on yourself as well as ISS.
Sure. Terrific. Thank you for asking. Well, I go way back. I went to school at Rutgers University. I started as an electrical engineer, and I transferred over to their computer science department. That was brand new. This is before the Mac was introduced. And long story short, I graduated with a computer science degree from Rutgers in 1981 and never saw a computer. So here I went for a computer science degree and never saw a computer. We punched 80-column IBM cards on an IBM card punch machine and handed them into a person at the library who ran them through a big mainframe that was located about 10 miles off site. So it was a timeshare, and you would go back and pick up your output a couple of days later. God forbid you dropped the card deck, because the cards had to be in sequence. So I went to 4 years for a computer science degree and never actually saw a computer in those 4 years. So that was my beginning. I then worked for an accounting firm in Manhattan for 5 years in their management services department from 81 to 86. And then I founded ISS Group in Q4 of 1986. So we've been in business quite a long time. We actually started January 3rd, 1987. We grew to about 125 people as of the turn of the century. And we focused on a number of different areas, including e-commerce, CRM, and of course, ERP. Today, we are resellers and service solution providers of what we call approval routing and workflow solutions. So it's all about process improvement, utilizing approval routing and workflow technology that we developed over the years. And we have a number of go-to-market solutions, a purchasing solution, a sales quoting solution, an AP automation solution, and a generic workflow platform, all again focused around process improvement and approval routing and workflow. So that's what we do primarily for a living today. Any questions on any of that so far?
No, I mean, that's a great breakdown. And for those that haven't had the chance to talk to Andy yet at one of the user groups, picking your brain, I think is the key piece to here. You gave a great background, right, in regards to starting in computer science, back before computer science necessarily was a hot topic, and your engineer background now makes a lot more sense knowing you. So we'll discuss that in a different day. Okay. But I think the key piece for that is you're talking about this automation, those three main pieces, which what's the priority you see in when organizations reach out to you? Which one is, I guess your leading product, which was, popular Terrific. When you first developed it, and what's the one driving now? Like how has that changed, and really how do they engage with you?
Well, what we see out in the world is, especially post-pandemic, is that companies have lots of different things that they need approved throughout the organization, and then some type of action being performed upon that approval, whether it's as simple as a vacation request or as complicated as a capital expense request, including purchase order requisitions, sales quotes, machine deviations when machines need to be changed from a configuration perspective, We have clients like Abbott doing approval workflows for lot control and ACH payments. We have clients doing workflows for customer credit authorization. So I can go on and on and on. We see this all the time. Companies are filling out requests, all kinds of requests every single day that need to be routed throughout the organization for review, approval, and then some type of action that needs to be performed upon approval. In the case of a PO requisition, a purchase order needs to be created. Or in the case of a sales quote, a sales order needs to be created. Or in the case of a supplier invoice, a voucher needs to be created, and so on. So that's what we see, and that's the gap that we fill within the QAD community, that approval routing and workflow functionality.
Now, you noted three different parts there, right? So you've got the piece for finance, the routing, the approval, the action piece that needs to be followed up on. I'm noticing a big change, post pandemic, in regards to the remote workforce, and I think more and more questions are coming up around areas where your organization helps fit, right? They're trying to get an approval that necessarily would have been in one office or one department that now could be spread across the United States with 6 different employees. Are you seeing a bigger demand due to the remote workforce and/or supply chain issues? What's the driving factor besides, my guess is probably just transparency in cost, but what's the driving factor you're seeing in the initial conversation when someone's coming to you for process improvement?
Well, that's a great question, Andrew, and the answer is absolutely yes. During the pandemic, post-pandemic, we've actually seen an increase in these requirements because you do have people working remotely. In the past, you may have had somebody filling out a purchase order requisition and yelling over the wall, "Hey, can I get this approved?" Well, you can't do that anymore. Now it needs to be routed. And we have clients that have facilities not only in the U.S. but all over the globe. And depending on what they're looking to purchase, as an example, could be $1 million piece of machinery that could be up to 10 people that need to approve that requisition, including the board of directors. So, and they could be scattered all over the globe. So absolutely, yes. During the pandemic, post-pandemic, remote workforce absolutely has increased the requirements for this type of approval routing. In addition, especially in the life science industry, we've seen a tremendous requirement for auditability, the ability to route something for review and approval, such as a PO requisition or a supplier invoice or a CapEx request. And inevitably, the auditors come in once a year and they want to see complete audit trails of those routings. Many of the life science companies, as you are well aware, are looking to be acquired by the bigger boys like J&J and others. And so they need this tight control. So we've seen a fairly large demand within the life science industry, as well as the other industries such as the automotive and electronics and consumer products as well. But life science certainly has a huge requirement for this type of technology.
No, you posted an area that I find probably my most requested information lately is clients looking for the audit trails, clients looking for requirements gathering and compliances that they're going to need for new industries. Now, you talked about life science in general. When is a good time for them to engage with you? Because you talked about global companies. Is it better when they're smaller? When's more of a natural time when a customer should be looking for that type of product to help ease their pain in that area?
Right from the beginning, right from startup phase, they need to implement these controls, the transparency, the visibility of the process. And many clients complain about requests getting stuck in the approval queue. Again, regardless of the type of request it may be, whether it's a PO requisition or a vacation request or CapEx request or customer credit authorization. We have a client, MTF Biologics, uses our workflow technology for customer credit authorizations. And upon approval, we create a credit memo within the QAD ERP application. So right from the beginning, they need to implement these controls and visibility, and then it helps them grow, and especially if they're looking to be acquired or go public someday in the future.
So I'm imagining, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're looking at a client like this and there's a prospect that comes to you and it's right out of the beginning, you're sitting there and you're bringing your industry experience to sit there and go, okay, great. Tell me what your 5-year plan is. And you're helping them prepare for that desire to say, hey, I got 5 years to sell my company. I need to put these processes in place. What challenges am I going to run into? What does it look like when I go global? How do I acquire? So you're there not just right at the gate to install and do the process improvement, but you're also there for the longevity and helping them roadmap out the best use of your solution stack.
100%, 100%. We have many life science clients that have got acquired by the bigger boys like J&J. We had a client, Acclarent, and they are now a division of J&J, and they continue to use our solutions because the big companies want this type of transparency, visibility, and certainly audit. So yes, we're in it for the long haul. We're in it for the long haul. Now, typically, these clients have already made the decision that they need this type of governance and control. As an example, one of our clients, John Crane, many years ago, we got called by the controller who said, we need to wrap some governance, which is just a fancy word for control, around the customer credit limit field within the customer master file of the QAD database. So we're getting right down to a specific data element, data attribute, data field. They did not want to allow a user to go in and change the credit limit for a customer. And so we wrapped our approval routing technology around that one field. And now that one field can only be changed through an approval routing process, as an example.
That's a good example. So you're not only talking about the ability to streamline their processes, but you're giving them control limits to stop human error from impacting,
Correct.
which of course in a credit limit, as we both know, it could be a major issue, especially if that credit limit's not set to the same standards as the rest of their customer
100%.
base.
100%. Another example, same client, they wanted to wrap governance around the change of a supplier's either remit to address or banking information. So if the remit to address or the banking information of a supplier changed within the QAD database, they wanted to place that supplier on a payment hold and wrap the approval routing technology around those changes, route those changes for approval, and then final approval, remove that supplier from a payment hold. So what that is that's a triggering event within the QAD database. When any of that data changes within QAD, that supplier is programmatically put on a payment hold. An I approve workflow is created programmatically. It does not require any human being to actually fill out a form. And then upon final approval, that supplier is, again, programmatically removed from payment hold, as another example of governance or control over a process.
So that control really helps out the controller of an organization when you're talking about possible missed payments, things just not getting paid in general because they're sitting in an inbox somewhere else because of a change. That's huge for probably cash flow, I'm assuming, and
100%.
just the control in general. So yeah, that's
control. The control.
I imagine you are a favorite person in that department when you start having that conversation, right? Because that's a headache and a half for a lot of those departments. So Andy, we talked a couple parts I wanted to dive back into a little bit because a lot of the clients we deal with are startups. So you said they should all start, out the gate, getting as many of these items in as they can to help them as they grow. What's usually the first product someone reaches out to you for in regards to helping them as let's just say start up to greenfield site to producing some type of finished good?
So the first product typically is our iPurchase solution, which is a PO requisition management / approval solution. And the reason for that is many companies are not creating purchase orders for all their purchasing. And that's very, very important. You want to create purchase orders for as much of your purchasing as possible, whether it's indirect material or direct material. One of the benefits of that, of course, is on the back end when you finally get invoiced from the supplier, you can do that AP automation, or that what I call invoice reconciliation, programmatically, instead of having a bunch of people in your accounting department matching invoices to purchase orders, or if you don't even have a purchase order, getting an invoice and matching it to nothing. So purchase order requisition management is typically the starting point, and that is the front end, if you will, of what's called a procure to pay solution. With procurement obviously being iPurchase, and then on the back end we have another solution called iVoucher, which is a AP automation solution. I call it supplier invoice reconciliation, but you need those purchase orders to be created before you can do what we call line item reconciliation using our iVoucher solution. So typically it's purchasing, and then it moves into AP automation, and then it moves into other areas of the company using our iApprove solution, the more generic workflow solution, such as I said, Abbott's using it for lot control. So these are QAD inventory lots that need to be placed on hold and then need to be released from hold. And there's an approval routing process or workflow process that is required to put those lots on hold. So typically the companies start with purchasing, then they move to AP automation, then they move to other types of approval routing and workflow requirements, such as lot control, customer credit authorization, budget approvals, machine deviations. I can go on and on.
Yep. A big one that we've seen lately, especially with a lot of the, let's just say the post-pandemic work remote, smaller workforces, I'm seeing budgets being a primary, item that companies are really digging into, budget management, as well as like quote approval. Are you seeing an uptick in that area as well, or is it still staying in that same 1, 2, 3 step that you just noted?
Well, when you say quote approval, it could be a sales quote, or it could be a request for a quote. So when you say quote, are you talking about a sales quote, or are you talking about an RFQ to a supplier?
Actually, both, depending on the department. So obviously we have competing departments so on it, but yeah, I'm finding both right now, because one, we're doing the request, and the other one they're trying to get as many as they can to get more competitive and drive their price down.
Yeah, 100%. So we have another solution we call iQuote.
Mm-hmm.
It is a sales quoting solution. It's being used by companies like Avery Dennison. Avery Dennison's been using it for many, maybe up to 15 years at this point. Laird Technologies, Somero uses our iQuote solution. So you're one of your favorite clients. And believe it or not, sales quotes need to be routed for approval. Maybe the salesperson wants to provide a larger discount than they're allowed to. So the sales quote needs to be routed to their supervisor or manager for approval. Or maybe the prospect or customer is asking for a product that the company does not yet produce. They don't manufacture it yet. So they need to send that sales quote to the product management department to see if they even want to produce it, or the financial department to see if it's going to be a money maker or a money loser for them. So there are many reasons why a sales quote needs to be routed for approval. And then upon final approval, that quote goes out to the customer. And then when the customer approves the quote, a sales order is created in QAD. So absolutely, we see that requirement, as well as on the other side of the supply chain, we see the requirement of requesting bids, requesting pricing, or requesting quotes. It's all the same thing, RFP, RFQ, from suppliers. Yep. And our iPurchase solution offers that kind of functionality as well.
Yeah, I can imagine as I've seen a lot of our customers that do the one-offs, if you will, or have very configurable products, they have to send it back when they quote it to R&D. R&D has to sign off on the margin, and it's got to go back out for a sales quote.
You got it. 100%.
Yeah, no, so it's a fun game we play, because every department has to have the sign off on it. You've noted a lot of things that ISS Group can help an organization tailor, control, as you'd say, and have the auditability to really hit the ground running and not have a whole lot of human intervention in the fact of wasted time. Because obviously a lot of times we talk about automation, we're freeing up people's time to be more value add to their organization or actually do the things they were hired to do than just some of the manual tasks that are also attributed with their jobs.
Correct.
I appreciate it because as people listen today, they should really engage with you when they see you at a user group event, or possibly even check out your website, of course, because we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg in 20 minutes, right? I mean, there's so many more nuances that we can cover. And I know I point a lot of clients in your direction when we start having conversations on automation and how, control factors on some parts of their roles and their jobs. And it's one of those things where you've always made it very easy for an organization to understand what their capabilities are and what you can do to increase their capabilities on the human factor. Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
As we wrap up today, I always like to ask clients, or in partners, the one good question: as you look for partners in this community space where we all, look to do the best by our customers, what's the one thing that you look for in a good partnership working in this industry?
Well, that's also a great question. And Strategic has been a terrific partner, not just because you're on the phone here with me, but you guys have been terrific. You run a tight ship. From Susie on down. I mean, you guys have been terrific. And the one thing I look for amongst everything else is loyalty. I look for that in my own employees, the people that I take on board into the ISS Group family. And I look for the same thing in my partners as well as my clients. It's all about loyalty to me. And that's the number one thing I look for in a partner, whether it's my domestic partner here at home or my business partner. It's all about loyalty, responsiveness. We're in this together. We're all trying to accomplish the same goals. We're trying to bring value to our clients. And as a team, I believe that we do that well.
I appreciate that, Andy. That's a great way to close. I always like to say that it's two-way interview, right? We're interviewing for new customers, we're interviewing for new employees, but we're also interviewing them as well as they're interviewing us, right? So it's not just I'm trying to win your business. I'm trying to verify, are you going to be a good customer for a long period of time or partner? And right. I think you eloquently put that out there. So I want to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next user group engagement or customer site.
Andrew, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Looking forward
Take care.
to seeing you again.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.